Hello and welcome to the Badger Politic. I'm Scott Stearns.
What about that white noise there, Scott?
Are you going to introduce yourself?
Well, my name's Paul Sickle. I guess that is white noise. Weren't you supposed to do that for a second?
No.
I was totally caught off guard.
Yeah? Well,
Yeah,
I think
I'm like utterly confused.
I think we're good.
So, how are we feeling?
About? Just in general? Or
Yeah,
I feel
America.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, more like the more global view of how we're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, we had a spat of robberies a few hours ago in our neighborhood.
that's not good.
That was rough. It's been a long summer in Milwaukee. I thought Trump was supposed to cut the crime rate, though.
Well,
Or Scott Walker was.
there's that. Well,
They'll just blame it on Barrett.
yeah.
Thanks, Barrett.
Did you see the Miller Coors announcement today?
Well, I heard
They're looking to eliminate a lot of jobs.
350 jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
Thanks, Walker.
Some of those will be through attrition, I'm sure, but others will be probably people being offered different positions or just not offered one at all. So they haven't been able to give a solid number for how many of the jobs will be in Milwaukee.
So today is the day after Labor Day.
It is.
On Labor Day, we celebrate the work of, frankly, not just the work of people, but the work of people working together.
Well, and the legacy.
Solidarity.
Yep.
Yeah, well, not just a legacy, though. We celebrate what people do every day
Yeah.
to work together. And this isn't just to, piss on the boss,
Yeah.
right? This is to actually work together to find common solutions at their jobs, to be better professionals and give a measure of dignity and respect to those who are doing the work.
Right.
And that's what Labor Day is all about. And I think it gets forgotten a lot. I think there's a lot of focus on making Memorial Day mean something, which is good. And, that's obviously a sacrifice for the country. But one of the things that makes our country great, as Meghan McCain said, to her enormous credit, by the way, America and John McCain's America and my America as well, it didn't need to be made great again. It always was.
Yeah.
And what
Exactly.
made America great, though I wouldn't quite say it always has been, and I'm not sure it's our greatest hour either.
Yeah,
But
I wouldn't say so.
Our finest hours, which have been throughout our history, have been when workers have had a voice.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean steel workers. That means all workers. That means
Sure.
when people got fed up with 300 years of slavery, black workers not having a voice on this continent. Between the black leaders like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and white abolitionists, they decided, let's get rid of this horrible system. And
Yeah.
they fought back.
On the heels of slavery going away, the labor movement took hold, and a lot of things that people take for granted today that aren't based on a contract but that are actually based on laws that are in place to protect workers, all originated from things that labor unions fought for 100 or more years ago.
The organization of labor fought
Yes.
for,
Yes.
which is, I would argue, the emancipation of slavery was a labor movement.
Of course. Of course. So,
Obviously a human rights movement.
It all ties
But I think
in.
labor rights and human rights are about the same thing. At the end of the day, this isn't actually a statement against capitalism, but capital will always demand the most work for the least amount. If it can get away with paying people nothing, it will.
Yeah. Well, because if their competitor is able to do it,
Right.
and they're going to try to do it too.
And that's
the
crux of slavery.
It becomes a
and-
race to the bottom.
Right.
Which is why there's a connection or a correlation between the demise, or not the demise, but kind of the downturn in labor union membership and the stagnation of wages.
Right.
This has been going on for 40 years.
Right.
And, I mean, the productivity...
The only reason we have
productivity
a
productivity
voice.
continues to go up, and
Wages are
wages are
stagnant
stagnant.
or declining.
yes, depending on the industry you're in.
Right. And that's been going on for most of our lifetimes, actually.
Yep.
And we're not that young yet.
And this comes up in the context of every time there's a tax cut, like we had this past year with our fearless leader.
Wait, were you talking about 45?
Yeah, we're talking about the
Wait, do we have to do one of those episodes again where we talk about the great things about 45? And it lasts 4.5 seconds of dead air time.
That day is not today.
Okay,
but every time they try the tax cut scheme, it's always sold on the idea that it's going to translate to higher wages and more employment and this and that, and it never does.
Yeah,
I mean,
it robs the base.
Most of the tax cut benefits are going to stock buybacks and things like that. It's not going down.
It robs the base of the economy, the working class of the economy, of every opportunity they have of advancement.
It's taking money out of the federal treasury, and then all of a sudden next year they'll come around and be like, "Oh, Social Security age has to go up. Oh, we don't have money for Medicare.
Dignified
we don't
survival.
have money for this.
Those are attacks on dignified survival.
Saw your fucking bridge fell down in your city.
Right.
Your interstate highway we couldn't afford to rebuild. We pushed that out a few more years. This is all part of it, and it's really tiresome that we have not managed to learn these lessons, or at least enough people haven't managed to learn these lessons through recent experience.
Right. It is tiresome, probably because we take a less ideological lens toward things. We take a more immediately political lens toward things.
Well, everybody loves the idea of being sold. We're going to cut taxes, and you're going to
But
see
even
the
on our
benefits.
end, okay. So remember, it was Katrina and how it hit Bush.
Yep.
And then people were like, "Oh, this will be Obama's Katrina."
Sure.
And maybe people will say this will be Trump's Katrina.
Yeah.
The whole reason Hurricane Katrina was a big issue was that it was a failure of free market economics abandoning the public sphere
Yeah.
and creating a public crisis. I mean, it wasn't about Bush's response, really.
Right.
Those were the headlines, but the real failure was the levees.
Yeah. True. It's the infrastructure.
Right. It was neglect. It was this, we can shrink government, as Grover Norquist likes to say.
Yeah.
Who basically opposes everything
Anything government related.
I'm for the most part. He said, we want to shrink government to the size that it can drown in the bathtub. That was his quote. Mm-hmm. And that's what they've done, especially in the southern states.
Yeah.
And I remember quipping with a friend before the impacts of Katrina were understood, before the levees broke. With a friend, he worked at Beans and Barley, and we were there, and we were saying, it's funny that it was right after Kerry lost to Bush. Yeah. That Mississippi, we didn't even realize Louisiana, but Louisiana too. All these southern states that were such red states are getting hit by this hurricane, and we were like, well, maybe we shouldn't let FEMA go there. Maybe we should tell them to let the free market solve their problems. So we were quipping like how funny that sounded. And then Katrina actually happened, and the human tragedy
made itself known.
And or became
it really set in, and it hit home for a lot of people. Obviously,
it made me feel really guilty for joking about it, but my joke wasn't actually really a joke at any victim's expense.
No,
it was pointing out the ridiculous policy we have in America of trying to starve anything that's cooperative that results in public safety or public well-being, such as, say, climate control, like trying to control CO2 gas so we don't have as many of the storms. We're living, as we're living in Wisconsin, in record rainfall months. Yeah. Like Wisconsin's now becoming and this has happened many years in a row now. We have a hotter, more muggy summer, and then we have this enormous rainy season in August every year. It's like a monsoon season, even though we're not in the tropics.
And you look
at the Great Lakes.
You look at not even just the Great Lakes, but I mean Madison. You have the one of the most densely populated section of Madison is the Isthmus, which is between the two lakes, Lake Monona, Lake Mendota, and it's this narrow strip of land that connects west side of the city to the east side of the city.
Ironically, we might deserve this in Wisconsin. Well, we decided to vote for Trump. We broke our seven terms of Democrat.
You drain the swamp in D.C. and then the water fills up
right,
elsewhere.
That's the swamp, right? Because we're so confident the free market will solve our problems.
Yeah. So
how's that working out for us?
I don't know. I mean, so that having been said, I mean, in terms of the races for this fall, what this all stacks up to look like. I mean, we've had some good polling recently, which we've talked about.
Right. Wait, we have to stop talking about ideology?
Well, we can talk ideology all day, but I mean,
we might get kicked out of here before we get done with that.
We might. So,
because I was just getting warmed up. Wait, you want to get into practical partisan politics or something like that?
Well, yeah.
Okay. I guess it's Badger politics.
Well, unless we want to
not Badger ideology.
Unless we want to talk for hours.
Yeah.
So the current generic ballot, according to 538, in terms of winning the race for the House, this is looking pretty good. So currently they're saying 49.6% for Democrats, 39% for Republicans. That's current day.
It's a 10.6 gap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that is coming off of Labor Day.
That's a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Since the last time we talked about it, which was 2 months ago. It's been growing over the course of the summer. It got really
trending.
Close.
It kind of ebbs and flows, but it's been trending in the direction.
Early in the summer, it was very close.
Mm-hmm.
It got very close.
Yeah.
And I wasn't comfortable with that. And I kind of forgot about it for a while. And now it's been going more back in the Democrats' direction.
I mean,
which is a positive to see. And how's the Trump approval on that one?
The Ipsos poll has it at 40% approve, 55% disapprove, which is
that's I can get behind that.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty brutal.
I mean, what's
poll.
their average? You know,
I don't have that up.
I think last I checked, the average was something like a -15. Closer to home here in Wisconsin, we've got several polls showing you got a really tight horse race for governor.
Yeah,
we've got a slight to strong advantage for Baldwin.
I think Baldwin's looking pretty solid at this point. I mean, what I would say,
the Marquette poll doesn't really like her that much.
But we've talked about the Marquette poll, and I'll be interested to see what the future Marquette polls look like. Other polling is looking pretty good. So
54-40, 54% disapprove of Trump, 40% approve.
Yeah, so he was underwater. He was under 40. He was in the 30s.
Or his natives were closer to 55. But yeah.
Republicans are going to try to make this an election about local issues and things like the tax cuts and stuff around that. I don't even think they're going to even touch Obamacare. I don't think they even want to approach that issue. They're definitely not going to vote on anything else related to that this fall.
So what should the Democrats do?
The Democrats should nationalize all these issues.
So it should nationalize
absolutely
and Obama,
absolutely
Affordable Care.
Yep,
and we should nationalize Trump.
Yep,
like nationalize it even in the gubernatorial election in Wisconsin.
Of course. I think there's if I'm Tony Evers and I'm putting together campaign ads, I'm assembling all the video footage I can find of Scott Walker hugging and shaking hands with Donald Trump. Absolutely.
So what about the conventional wisdom in politics that you got to have something you're for?
Well, of course you do, but you have to. But you also have to point out. Okay, we have an administration today. We have to tell people what's wrong with it. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with going negative. Once people know what's wrong, they want to know what the solution is.
Do you think Walker's been tied close enough to Trump to do it?
I think so. He has not. When's the last time we saw Scott Walker take a stand and say, like, well, I don't agree with what he's doing? He's come out. I think the most you could say is he's come out and said, like, he doesn't agree with him on trade, but like in a very milquetoast fashion. Harley Davidson stuff. I mean, he has not been at the forefront of pushing back on
in
these
response
things.
to everything you just said. Thank you. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
We need to do exactly that. Nationalize this election.
Of
Make
course.
it about Trump.
This is a referendum. This is a referendum.
Right. And Walker has cozied up to Trump shamelessly.
Yep.
And let's let him own that.
And the thing that Walker is worrying about right now is that he is losing independence in the polling badly.
So all the more comparisons between Walker and Trump. We need that image where they airbrush the Walker into the Trump. Remember how they used to do that?
Yeah.
No, we should totally do that.
Sure.
There are some super clever data people, Democratic Party type, I need a safe space for my Democratic data, which keeps losing us elections or whatever. We can't upset people who might like Trump because we might encourage them to vote. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Let's get the voters out who are pissed off about
Absolutely.
Trump.
No.
Because if we do that, we'll win.
Right. Speaking of winning, how about those Brewers? 11 to 1 over the Cubs today.
Right. Remember, you don't get points for the popular vote or the
I know.
or the run score differential. Although that indicator was poor for the Brewers until now.
Yeah.
Brewers looking good.
I think they're starting to get fired up at the right amount of time.
And 61, they're back up their high water mark for the year. 18 games over 500.
They can go 500 the rest of the year and still finish with a really, really good record.
500 the rest of the year would put them at 90 and 72.
Which would be amazing.
A 90-win season.
I mean, that'd be great. And if
probably qualifies them for a wild card.
It should. But if the Cubs...
Probably a home game, too.
You never know, though. The way the Cubs pitching seems to be faltering right now, it may be enough for them to pull ahead. But we'll see.
Cubs are at 83 wins. You talk about the Cubs only winning 7 games.
But they're only. I don't know.
Cubs are going to win more than
Brewers are going for the sweep tomorrow. I mean, the Brewers are 3 games back of the Cubs.
The Cubs have been throwing a lot of shit pitches and bean balls against. They really seem terrified of Lorenzo Cain,
as they should be.
I know, but more than other teams. I mean, it's kind of interesting.
They should be terrified.
Cain is a they don't seem as terrified of Yelich. They seem to think that Yelich is maybe cocky enough to swing at their junk. Whereas with Cain, they're mortified by the guy. Cain walked 4 times today.
Yeah.
Yesterday he was hit by a pitch at least once, and I think he walked another time and delivered 2 hits. I mean, Cain's been on base 8 times, I think, in the series.
Yeah.
Cain doesn't have the power to be Yelich, but he's
No.
got great speed, and he's good. He's just such a good hitter, a good fundamental player.
They're showing they're showing on the replay right now the inning where the Brewers loaded the bases and Aguilar got hit. And
this is yesterday's
this is the replay of tonight's game. It's
Cubs look really sloppy.
Yeah.
And Pat Hughes even admitted it. And I got to admit, I was trying to listen to Bob Uecker describe this inning. It was incomprehensible. I listened to Pat Hughes describe it. It was better. Pat Hughes, when we were kids, he was
the backup.
Was the backup for Uecker.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Uecker is advanced in his age. Uecker, honestly, he calls a day game well.
Yeah.
He does not call a night game well.
Yes.
And I just
I think he continues to scale back, I think, the number of games he does every year.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get to the point where he just doesn't travel.
That's a good thing. So I was listening to Pat Hughes do the Cubs cast.
Yeah.
Part of it's a little bit my sick inclination. I like hearing Chicago fans.
Is that narcissism?
I mean, on Sunday when the Packers annihilate the Bears despite Khalil Mack.
Oh yeah, it's fun to tune into the score in Chicago.
Probably, assuming Aaron Rodgers, throws for his average, 9 touchdowns against the Bears, whatever.
Right.
Wait, are we turning into Bob Swirsky's super
maybe,
fans?
Maybe.
Only Bob Swirsky's up Nordic super fans. Up Pack.
We got Packers kick it off this weekend.
Aaron Rodgers against a volcano.
We got Packers on
Rodgers
Sunday
100,
night.
Volcano 0.
We can do our Packers recap next week. So
all right.
On that note, all right.
Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go. Go Brewers forward.